Shortly, we're going to be giving you a demonstration using EMC software to perform case management, but first we'll give you a quick introduction of how we define case management and how our solution meets the objectives of it. So Gartner has a very good definition. It's the same definition that we use, and that is the challenges are that a case does not typically perform in a linear fashion. So workflow is part of it, but the central piece of work is the case itself, and workflow is somewhat secondary and has to be somewhat ad hoc as well. Also, another challenge is the relationships amongst different entities, such as cases, locations, missions, evidence, incidents, etc. And in the broad definition of case management, it actually covers a large area. MIA case management is part of a subset of investigative case management, which is in the top right. But as you can see, case management really has a lot of the same characteristics, even for things like loan processing. Some of our federal customers, some of the ones to highlight, the Department of Homeland Security Customs and Border Enforcement uses us or is implementing case management currently for something very similar. Department of Energy uses us for DoD 5015 Part 2 records compliance. So a few of the examples of some of our federal customers. So what is the product itself? So XCP is, first of all, it's the process engine, and that provides your automation both for manual work assignment, but also integration to external systems. It has a reporting engine to report on, measure your processes and the effectiveness and your progress of cases. It can easily manage changes because it is a graphical tool to design the user interface and the workflow processes, and designed for ad hoc workflow, so that it allows you to easily delegate work. The case folder itself is a central part of it. We can manage the complex relationships and the content relationships as well, providing a complete record which gives you full visibility, and then the audit compliance is on top of it as well. So for the end users, first of all, we can design personalized role-based views. So this screen will look very different than what you see in the demonstration. Depending on who you log in, or maybe what status a particular case is, or whatever it may be, may present completely different information at any given point in time. So the UI kind of conforms to what is going on in the system and who you are. It's very flexible in the layout. In addition, integrating things like external mapping tools and things like that can be accomplished as well. The case folder itself, this is an example of a claim. So it will look very different than your case, but it has the same concepts. It has content, it has data, it has relationships to, in this case, a policy and a person. Those are the different entity relationships and comments and discussion threads. So this is really one of the challenges that we do very well. It has a full text search engine, which also includes faceted-based search, so that you can find the content that you need to associate to various cases and to perform your work. On the capture side of it, there's a lot of different ways that we do perform scanning and image capture. The one that we proposed and is going to be used probably the most as you go on with the solution is the ad hoc browser-based capture, because that allows you to open a case, for example, and click a scan button and scan directly into that case, which is a very common situation, particularly if you are in the field. It's usually a somewhat of a lower volume, ad hoc scanning as you need it. The demonstration is going to be 3 use cases, as you see here, and we're going to dig into more details of those whenever we get to those use cases. Thank you. Well, this is a demonstration using EMC software to perform case management. We've broken into 3 main use cases: the researcher, field operations, and laboratory. In our first section, for the researcher, we're going to talk about relationships and how key that is to case management, being able to relate entities, being able to intelligently search, and that includes using optical character recognition to find documents that have been scanned, doing annotations on documents and photos, noting relevant sections as part of that, and then finally, formal and ad hoc workflow task assignment. We're going to switch over to the application and log in as our researcher, Adam. And the user interface is configurable. So on this particular home page, we have a list of tasks assigned to the person, some quick links, and some policies and procedures. With the way things are organized is if I want to, for example, look for cases, I navigate to our Cases tab, and we'll just look for a particular person James Hood, which shows some information about him, but then I can drill into it. And this is a typical way that things are organized, is where the main entity we're looking at, in this case, the case, is up top with data, and then related information along the bottom in a tab type format. So, for example, I'm looking at the related documents. I can drill into this photo and open it up to take a look at it. Note that, for example, things like unit history documents, it's related to multiple cases, and only page 12 and page 28 is important to this particular case. So it's important that you can relate those things and note why they're related and where it is that it's related. So now, let's see if we can find some new documents there. We can look for based on attributes as well as the full text itself. And this is the OCR full text. So if I search for Hood, it's looking within the various documents to find information. And for example, the cemetery record is something relatively new, so I will associate it to there, and I can note page numbers and things like that for that. Let's return to our welcome page, because note that I did have a task assigned to me. So this was assigned by someone else, so I'll drill into it and see what it says. Okay, so it's saying, a source reports a crash. There's information, there's latitude, longitude information about it that is associated to it. This is actually an incident with some related information. In this case, it has a photo from the field. And within here, you can do annotations as well. And whenever you do that, the annotations, they show up on the image, but also they show up in the list view down below. And if this is a document, you could do a lot more advanced annotations and redaction, redlining, highlighting, etc. And when you drill into those various line items below, it'll go directly to the page where that particular comment was located. So now let's see if there's some additional cases that this particular incident could be related to. There's no cases currently associated to that. So let's just perform a related search. And again, this is configurable what you would want to search upon, including if you have GIS type coordinates, you could do things like rubber band around a geographic area to find incidents or whatever it is related information, just based on the latitude and longitude of it. In this case, we found two cases that are potentially related to it based on a location. And I'm going to assign both of them as medium confidence. And this is an important concept here, is that this case can be related to multiple places, and it may be low confidence elsewhere, medium confidence here, high elsewhere, and so on. So it's important that the data is not just on the entities themselves, but on the relationships. I've done some research, and so now let's go ahead and I'm going to assign a mission task for this. So we will, this is an example of the ad hoc capabilities of the workflow, which is pretty important for case management. We'll assign a high priority task. And I will assign it to a particular person. We'll assign it to the mission group. And so now, this ad hoc task, which is really important, there's formal workflow, but also the ability to do this type of thing is pretty common in case management, where you just get to choose, where you choose ad hoc type of assignments and that type of thing. Now we're going to roll into our next use case. Okay, now we're going to continue with our second use case, but first to review, we just got done with the research section, which highlighted the importance of relationships and intelligence search and being able to do annotations and being able to do ad hoc workflow assignments. And it ended with a mission request that went to field operations, which in that we're going to review things like being able to organize and prioritize missions, which really applies to any task. Mobile access to the case information, and also mobile upload. And finally, we're going to continue with the progress by assigning tasks to the laboratory. So I will log in as our mission planner. And you will note note that it looks slightly different. There's different information than mission requests instead of just standard tasks, and that's part of the advantage of the configurable UI. And we have our new one down here that was just assigned with a high priority. So I'm going to go ahead and move it up in an order and make that more of a high priority item. Also, before I head out, I can take a look at some of the policies and procedures. And again, this could be a library of any type of information that would be reference type material. So this applies to Germany and what you have to do while you're there. And then I'll drill into it and start doing some of the work on it. So the first thing is that the original aircraft artifact is still attached to this, still related to it. We have this related to the various cases, which we did in the last use case, and then we have it related to certain air incidents based on location and that type of thing. So I'll just go ahead and drill into this particular instance as I'm doing a little bit of research. In here now I have the incident information up top, and then I have related information down below, and so you'll see the cases as well. And then we can do automatic integration to mapping type situations, and this can be used for search as well. You could highlight a certain geographic area that can find related incidents or related evidence or anything related to latitude and longitude to do your work. So I'm going to in this particular task we went into the field and some remains were recovered. So I'm going to import in a new document. And we'll just label it as other. Add a note. And then I'll import content. So this is, I'm doing this just from a laptop. But this could be a mobile device as well, and this application works just as well on mobile devices, and it's very common to, for example, for field work, take an iPad or something into the field, take pictures with that, so that you can upload it directly to a particular case, either on site or wait until you have internet access to upload that information. So I've done my work, and I want to go ahead and send this to forensics or to the lab. So just like before, I'm going to add a new task. Make it a high priority, and we're going to put a note. See if this is part of a B17, and we'll assign it to a group of people in this case, and the entire forensics group, which is kind of important because what that means is everybody gets the task, and then whoever can work on it and pick it up first can pick it up and start working on it immediately. So it helps to get work done faster. So that is essentially it for the field operations, and this will tie directly into our next area with the laboratory because we've assigned a task to them. Now we're going to continue with our third and final use case of the demonstration. To review, we've already gone through the research area. We assigned a task to field operations for a mission. The outcome of that required going to some physical evidence, going to a laboratory to investigate where it could be related. The things we'll review are, at this point it should be pretty obvious. All parties have access to the same case data as it's progressing. We're able to manage the status and associated confidence levels. We're able to progress the case. And there's going to be a third thing in this area about automatic generation of documents. So let's log in again, this time as Amy, who is a member of the laboratory. And again, the task has been assigned to her, and actually it was assigned to the entire group. So that is why up here there is an additional button to acquire the task. And what that means is that everybody was notified about this that was part of that group. And by acquiring it, they're notified again that, hey, everything's taken care of. Someone has officially picked it up and is doing work upon it. So it's very efficient, the task assignment. So the first thing I'm going to do is change this. We've received the items in the lab, so I'll change status to show that it was received in the lab. And I do the report. So when I finish up the lab report, I'll go ahead and upload it. And this is an evidence report. it's actually think it's part of a B17G. And so, all the previous documents that were uploaded from the field, the initial lead, all that stuff is available to me to do that research. And I will let's go ahead and import in that document there. And so the basic, what outcome of it is most likely, if we look at the various cases that were involved, it was more likely that it was James Hood than it was the Thomas McMahon, and in fact, it pretty much excludes that one. So here's an example of where this confidence is really important as far as, I'm going to change this to unrelated. So why is that important? Well, 5 years from now, someone else isn't trying to redo the same investigation that has already been done, because we've noted that we have investigated this and we think it's unrelated. And we'll go ahead and make this one a high confidence. It's the one that we think it is. And the lab may not be the one making these changes, but it gives you an idea of how you progress and how you change confidence in there. And we'll go ahead and, to finish this off, let's just assign a task to, a general task to see if the determination needs to be changed. Alright, and then I complete this task. So, one last thing is, this is progressing on. We're not going to continue on with it. Let's review the James Hood case real quick. We have all the associated documents that went with it, the various pieces of evidence that came in, the incident we think it's related to, and then, finally the journal items. So, I'm going to go ahead and hit this and then explain it. All this data that's collected within here, sometimes you need to create a summary report. This could be for a family meeting or whatever it may be. We have an automatic document generation engine that uses a template. You basically build a template in Microsoft Word and substitute in the data that you get from a particular entity. In this case, it's this exact case. And then it will automatically generate that. So let's see if it's done. Now, so what it did and what that warning was stating is that it is done. It takes a little bit to actually create that, and so we don't hold up the user interface. So it takes a few seconds. So now you see that it does here exist, and if we want to take a look at it, we can see the final result. And so what we have is up top, a lot of the header information was extracted from the case file itself. We summarized the journal entries that we just saw put in there, and so any of that associated information can be part of this document. That could be for a family conference, it could be just a case summary in general, it could be for FOIA type situations. So let's just review the final, that's the end of that use case, and just go over what we talked about. We started out with research where we talked about all the importance of the relationships and the confidence levels you can put on relationships, being able to search and OCR documents so that you can do search full text and annotate on them. And then both formal and ad hoc workflow is prevalent throughout all of these. And the ad hoc is very important for case management situations. It's very common because it normally is not a linear process. Field operations organizing tasks, mobile access capabilities, and finally, the ability to automatically generate documents from the case data itself. So thank you. Hope